What a way to start. My fellow Belizeans, these are proud days of celebration, days that will culminate with the arrival of our country's 44th birthday on the 21st September. 4 decades and 4 years have served to consolidate our nation's unique place in the Caribbean and Central American community and in the world. In a great measure, these 4 decades and 4 years of ascendant nationhood was captured by today's citizenship ceremony. 44 new Belizeans, may I say 44 and a half or 45? You miscount. Cabsec. These new Belizeans, born in distant lands, diverse in ethnicity and culture, but freely and enthusiastically choosing to pledge loyalty and life to this, our glittering jewel. To be sure, the nation has traversed peaks and valleys since its birth in 1981, but never have our people veered away from those immortal values that befit a progressive society. Belizeans continuously embrace participatory democracy, free speech, opportunity based on merit, the right to a dignified living, and believe in the goodness of our Creator. Only a few weeks ago, Belizean diplomats who represent our nation across the globe gathered here in Belmopan for a periodic review. They sketched a picture of the world that is indeed more chaotic, more confrontational, more fractious than we have witnessed for 2 generations. In this tempest, what Belize represents, what our nation has been able to achieve since 1981, and especially since 2020, is for sure truly remarkable. And so for the new Belizeans who just took their oath, and for all Belizeans, I delight in declaring that the state of the nation is in fighting fit. Belize today is more resilient and resolved to excellence and equality than ever before. More ready to seize this moment in the building of our nation, so rich with potential. In this fractious world, how tall Belize stands when at the recent summit with the presidents of our neighbors to the north and to the west, our 3 countries together pledged to jointly manage the Great Mayan Jungle Biocultural Corridor, a unique ecosystem that links our nations and that confers common purpose. Protecting patrimony that is humanities and not just national is a hallmark of Belize's contribution to the world. Consider how tall we stand today when just 5 years ago, battered by misgovernance and pandemic, both our economy and our dollar were on the precipice of collapse. So high have we soared that for the 3rd year running, the IMF's report card could hardly have been more positive. 2024 growth stood at 8.1%, with the first half of the year projected for further expansion. For the first time in living memory, employment has surged to over 95%, with widespread reports of worker shortages in the private sector. Employers looking for workers and not workers looking for a job. How unusual is that? Hourly wage earners can soon expect another raise to $6 for the minimum wage from an administration that made good in our first term on the $5 per hour pledge. When that $6 per hour floor is established, this government would be the first ever to almost double the guaranteed income of those whose wages are paid at hourly wages. Apart from the tens of thousands of hourly workers whose pockets are a little deeper today, there are more than 15,000 public officers, teachers, and security personnel who, as a consequence of government's recent negotiations with the various unions, stand to gain over $100 million in additional wages. When the phased salary increase are fully implemented, and including increments through to 2027, the additional wages will value $112.4 million annually, or $750 per year on average for each of the public officers, teachers, and security personnel. Had the almost miraculous repair and reconstruction of the public finances not been achieved by this administration post-2020, clearly this size of a wage increase would have been impossible. Today, not only is the Belize dollar backed by solid rock reserves and a value peg on moves since 1949, but we have welcomed in the last few weeks a currency note refreshed with our national heroes, George Price and Philip Goulston, now adoring the cash we exchange daily. National heroes, national symbols, and national attractions. The new banknotes, rolled out with notable efficiency, are but one additional symbol of Belize's strength and Belize's independence. Now, nation-building success is never without setbacks. In agriculture, for example, the Fusarium disease cut this last sugarcane season's production by 15.47% and sugar by 23.9%, while financial revenues is estimated to fall between 35 to 40%. At the next crop is expected to fall by another 15 to 20% in sugarcane production. Yet, the farmers, the millers, and government are undeterred. The sugarcane industry, so vital to the North, will defeat Fusarium with a collaborative plan that is well underway. $500,000 was invested in a successful experimental project, and $2.5 million was recently approved by Cabinet to treat cane fields. Already, the Office of the Prime Minister and the Ministry of Economic Transformation has raised another $7 million from CRESAP, $1.5 million from GCF through the 5 Cs, and $7 million from DFC, which has rehabilitated over 6,000 acres of cane fields and an ongoing rehabilitation of another 35,000 acres. And at the recent investment summit on Ambergris Caye, government signed an MOU that will expand sugar refining and broaden Belize's sugar exports to CARICOM and beyond. And we will defeat Fusarium, so will our livestock industry survive the challenge from the New World screwworm. Again, the Ministry of Agriculture, in close partnership with the private sector, has been tireless in its efforts to educate ranchers and to organize a response consonant with our regional allies. The setback in sugar and livestock, and not so long ago in citrus, have not broken the spirit of ingenuity in Belize's primary sector, whose year-on-year expansion has been impressive. As one example, coconuts, that burgeoning new sector, paints the picture of Belizean resilience. Today, 18,000 acres of coconuts are planted. Just over 22 containers of coconut water and just over 700,000 nuts have been exported up to the end of July. The export of nuts and coconut water is expected to generate an estimated $4 million in 2025, when just a few years ago, this commodity was confined to domestic consumption. And in 2026, revenues from coconut is expected to surge to between $8 and $10 million as recently planted fields come into production and the industry begins to export green nuts to Mexico. Because of the policies and support mechanisms for industry that transcends the halls of the Ministry of Agriculture and the government of Belize, over $170 million in strategic investments have occurred in agriculture value adding within the last 3 years. To highlight a few: 1, coconut and juice processing. A minimum of $60 million have been invested in new plant construction for fruit and other juice processing, fruit pulp processing, soursop and pineapple processing, coconut water and coconut oil processing, and for preparing fresh coconut for export. 2, corn and wheat flour and corn chips, over $50 million, with 2 new flour mills coming into operation, a cornmeal plant, a ramen processing plant, and the Bowen corn chips snack plant. 3, soybean meal, oil, and animal feed. $32 million have been invested in soy meal and oil refinery. 4, poultry. $23.2 million in plant expansion, upgrades and modernization, and equipment for a new product line such as chicken ham, chicken sausages, bologna, and other value-added products. 5, the dairy sector. $6.8 million in UHT milk processing and dairy plant processing and storage expansions. And 6, chocolate manufacturing. Close to $5 million is being invested. These investments, stimulated by crucial policy measures and support, have triggered expansion in the production of raw materials that are needed to supply this expanding processing capacity. Today, we're seeing significant increases in the production of corn, soybeans, sorghum, coconuts, cacao, and non-tropical fruits, as well as expansion in the livestock and fishing sectors, particularly cattle, shrimp, and poultry. Our administration continues to strive for key infrastructural enhancements. Early next year, with the proper environmental plans and approvals in place, the Port of Belize expects to commence work on the upgrading of the marine access channel and harbor, to be followed by upgrades to the cargo facilities and mainland cruise berthing facilities. Accessibility to larger cargo vessels will improve trade efficiencies and benefit the Belizean consumer and exporter. And a cruise ship berthing facility will expand stay-over time and elevate spending to higher regional levels. The Port of Belize targets phase investments surpassing $800 million. Progress on Belizean farmers and infrastructure enhancements are matched by progress in Belizean hospitality. Despite the challenges to global tourism and the unceasing waves of sargassum blighting our coastline, the overnight and cruise tourism sectors remain sturdy. Through July, 364,418 overnight visitors arrived to our shores, a 1.3% increase compared to the same period last year. This was complemented by 595,682 cruise passengers, a 5.3% increase. The airline routes linking Belize to the world are already extensive and will be further expanded by adding new service on Air Canada from Montreal, which provide that same European connection we have long sought, and Spirit out of Fort Lauderdale, which will add a new low-cost option later this year. Hotel room expansion continues apace in all major destinations, and especially in Ambergris Caye and on the Placencia Peninsula. An estimated 621 new quality rooms come online this year. And improvements at the PGIA are progressing, including to the terminal building, the apron, and the parking facilities. The prospect of a link to the Tren Maya routes and connectivity between the Mexican Maya Riviera and North Ambergris carry untold potential if undertaken in a manner consistent with high environmental standards. Of course, securing our cities, towns, villages, and our borders is crucial to instilling confidence in citizens, visitors, and investors alike. By this reasoning, result-specific spending has been ongoing for personnel training and equipment. The security forces, and especially the police department, continues to push back against domestic and transnational crime with gathering success. Major crimes have fallen by 3% this year, and murders are down by 20% through the end of August compared to last year. With regard to this recent controversy surrounding citizen Joseph Budna and his alleged abduction and reappearance in Guatemalan custody, I wish to reiterate that this government did not and would never sanction an extrajudicial extradition of any Belizean, no matter their station. The law of the land applies to every citizen alike, without prejudice. Wherever the police investigation leads into that matter, justice will be applied and justice will prevail. The proposed 13th constitutional amendment has also generated vibrant debate in the recent months. Let me underscore what I and colleague ministers have explained. Any change to the Constitution is weighty, not a frivolous exercise. That's why the various consultations have been extensive. But I underscore as well that our pledge to employ every lawful strategy and tactic to suppress gang violence will be relentless. So long as innocent, law-abiding citizens fear for their safety and the safety of their children, we will not be swayed by naysayers who conjure imaginary victims of state overreach, while the real crime victims of the criminals are overlooked. Plan Belize 2.0 is firing on all cylinders so that trust requires power. It requires electricity to bolster production and keep up with demand. A new agreement was signed just a few weeks ago for the generation of 15 megawatts of solar power. By the end of this year, we expect to sign 4 more agreements totaling an additional 80 megawatts of solar power. This is in fulfillment of our pledge to enhance clean power generation and buttress domestic power production. These new power plants, these new solar plants projects will come online by the end of 2026 and represent an investment of over $140 million. And so, as together we locked arms and marched past the signposts of 44, I'm energized by our nation's vigorous help, by its dynamic transformation. 4 décadas y 4 años han servido para consolidar el lugar único de nuestra nación en la comunidad caribeña y Centroamérica y en el mundo. Los beliceños ejercemos constantemente la democracia participativa, la libertad de expresión, la oportunidad basada en el mérito, el derecho a una vida digna, y creemos en la bondad de nuestro Creador. En un mundo a menudo caótico, lo que Belice representa, lo que nuestra nación ha logrado desde el 1981 y especialmente desde los 2020, es sin duda verdaderamente extraordinario. Hemos alcanzado tal altura que por tercer año consecutivo el informe del Fondo Monetario Internacional difícilmente podría haber sido más positivo. Me complace declarar que el Estado de la Nación se encuentra en óptimas condiciones para afrontar los retos del futuro. On this sliver of planet Earth, 400,000 plus strong, blessed with wealth untold, animated by reverence to freedom, diversity, peace, and equity, we shall continue to persevere, continue to advance to broader prosperity. Not colonialism, nor unfounded claims, not economic cycles, nor geopolitical shocks, not hurricanes nor droughts, not disease nor pandemic, not momentary stumbles nor missteps. None of these or anything else can dent our stride to that higher plane where the guidance of our Creator, every Belizean can enjoy the precious fruits of this jewel, Belize. Belize forever. Belize for all. Que viva Belize. I thank you.